Oh, what do we got?
Let's see.
We spoke about Shlemiel yesterday, right? So somebody commented, they listened to the shiur, they had a comment about the Shlemiel part, and he said, what did he say? He said that the Yom on Chanukah that we lane, the Nasi of Shlemiel, on Chanukah, the day of the Nasi, Shlemiel can never fall out on Shabbos. All other Nasiim can fall out on Shabbos.
It's the last one, no?
Huh?
Or the fifth. The fifth or last one?
You have to look at the siddur. I don't know which one it is, which day it is.
Or the last. Shlumiel Shaddai, the fifth, I think the fifth.
B'yom Chamishi, who was it?
Shlumiel Shaddai, יום חמישי. יום חמישי בחיים לא יהיה בשבת.
He's looking it up there.
Yom Shi's the longest laning. You got to go to the earlier page.
או יום חמישי.
Yeah. B'yom Chamishi. Sure.
אני יודע את התורה קצת, אני יודע קצת.
יותר בקצת, רב שול. עוד אחד, we have one more. This one is really a big inspiration. Rabbi Yoel, this is amazing. It'll probably be hard to keep this up, especially now that the Masechta gets much harder. The Masechtas get much harder. But in the meantime, I'm enjoying the ride. So he doesn't express much optimism,
Confidence
in this. So I just want to let at RROST 1500, I'll let him know that shkoyach for the challenge. We're gonna plow through. Challenge accepted. Absolutely. Okay, so we are up to Be'ez Hashem Chav Gimel Amud Beis Gemara Amar Rabbi Yochanan. We stopped yesterday by the Gemara. We learned the Mishnah. The Mishnah said that Rabbi Hananya ben Gamliel learns that anyone who's chayiv kares, if he gets malchus paters from kares. Amar Rabbi Yochanan Chalukan al Chaver Rabbi Hananya ben Gamliel. There's a machloikes. They argue with Rabbi Hananya ben Gamliel. Amar Rabbi Rav. In other words, not everybody agrees to this shita. The Chachamim say if you're chayiv kares, malchus doesn't pater you. The Rav said, the Yeshiva of Rav, they said Tanina, it's actually a Mishnah. Ein ben Shabbos lemi Kippurim el zez doina b'dei Adam, v'zez doina b'ikaris. The chilik between somebody who does a mezid, b'locha b'mezid on Shabbos, between somebody who does b'locha b'mezid, on Yom Kippur is the einish. Shabbos, if there's Edom and Asra, you get skila. On Yom Kippur, you get karis. Right? Zez doina b'dei Adam. And by Yom Kippur is b'ikaris. And Isa, if it's true, asks the Gemara, that even by Karis, it could be b'dei Adam, you can have a kapara b'dei Adam through Malchus. Why does the Mishnah say only Shabbos is b'dei Adam? Idivi b'dei Adam. They both can be atoned through Yedei Adam. Right? Even Yom Kippur can get Malchus. Says the Gemara, Rav Nachman Rabbi Yitzchaki. No, it's not a kasha. One teretz is that Mishnah is a das yachid. That's Rabbi Yitzchak. The Omar Malchus b'chayv krisis leka. He says, you're right. Can never receive malchus v'chayv krisis. The Tanya, Rabbi Yitzchak b'chayv krisis b'chlal loyu. That chayv krisis were generalized in the parsha of Arayos. V'lo miyatzes kares b'achoisai. Why did the Torah single out achoisai, the erva of achoisai, with the punishment of kares? L'doinai b'kares v'loy b'malchus, to highlight, to emphasize that you can only receive kares and not malchus. Good to see you, Avi. Yeah.
With the kares, they had to. Somebody would had to matre him. Don't eat. You're gonna get carrot.
Yeah.
Somebody had to.
Asra. Yeah, you need Asra, of course.
Yeah. Otherwise,
So the Gemara says that Rabbi Yitzchak is the only one really who holds that if you're chayiv kares, you don't become potter through malchus, and that's the Mishnah. He is that Mishnah of Yom Kippur. That's not b'dei Adam, it's b'kares. Rav Ashi Amar another tchiyah. Amar afilo teim Rabbanan. Rav Ashi says you could even say it's the Rabbanan. Even the Chachamim can shtim with that Mishnah. The Mishnah says you can only receive kares and not malchus. No, it's talking about the ikar punishment. Zeh ikar's doina b'dei Adam. Zeh ikar's doina b'dei Shemayim. The ikar einish when somebody eats on Yom Kippur is kares. It's not to say that malchus doesn't pater you. Even if you receive malchus instead of kares, you also have a kapara.
He's going to get a kapara?
Yeah. So according to most opinions, what the Gemara is saying here,
he's going to get a kapara.
Nathan is here.
He's going to get a kapara for Really?
if he gets Malkus. Omer of Adab Rav Omer Rav, halacha kereb Chananya ben Gamliel. The halacha is, if a guy is chayiv kares, guys voluntarily knock on Bezin's door and ask for Malkus, because if Bezin gives somebody Malkus on a chayiv kares, he doesn't get kares anymore. It patters him from kares. That is the halacha. Yeah, kacha. Omer Rav Yosef, man salik le'ela v'osav Omer. Who went up to Shemayim and told you that this is the halacha? Well, you went up to Shemayim, you asked Bezin Shalmaila, that if Bezin Shalmata gives you Malkus, you're part of him kares? Interesting question, no? Man salik le'ela v'osav Omer. Omer le'abaya, elahoda Omer b'shuba Levi. Right? Here we're answering a question with a question. Avai said, so Rabbi Shimon Levi that says, Shloish Dvar Moshe Bezin Shalmata V'skim Bezin Shalmaila Yodam, that 3 halachas Bezin Shalmata established in this world, and Bezin Shalmaila was maskim, asked the same question. Man Salik Le'ela V'osav Omer. Who told us here that Bezin Shalmaila was maskim? Elo must be Kroi Kedarshinan. How do we know that Bezin Shalmaila is maskim to Bezin Shalmata? We see the psukim. Machanami Kroi Kedarshinan. Over here too, we darshan it from a pasuk. Gufa. Now, what are the psukim in Rabbi Shimon Levi? What 3 halachas are we referring to over there that Bezin Shalmaila was masking to Bezin Shalmata, and how do we know it? By the way, it's interesting that Rabbi Shimon Levi is the one who says that Bezin Shalmaila was masking to Bezin Shalmata, and the Gemara asks, who went up to Shemayim and revealed and came back down and revealed this halacha? Rabbi Shimon Levi was the only one, the only one who went up alive to Shemayim. Yeah, he was able to go alive. So it's interesting that he is the one who says that Bezin Shalmaila is masking to Bezin Shalmata, but he never came down though.
Is he the one that jumped in?
Yeah.
Oh, that Maisa.
That Maisa, yeah.
He was the one.
Yeah. Yeah, Gemara, a long story, where the Gemara says he asked Eliyahu Navi to show him his place in Gan Eden, and he jumped over the Chayma and he stayed there.
Why come back?
Was the Malach HaMavos not Eliyahu Navi? Malach HaMavos? I don't remember who it was.
Show
Yeah.
him that he's next to Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai.
They showed him his next to Shem Bar Yochai. Okay, I don't remember the exact details of the Gemara of that Maisa, but I just know Rabbi Shimon Levi went up alive to Shemayim. Okay, so the Gemara says, what are the 3 halachas? Elu Hain, yeah? Mikra Megillah Ushe'ela Shalom B'Shem Favos Meiser, and bringing Meiser to the Beis HaMikdash. Mikra Megillah Chsev Kimu V'Kibla Yehudim. It says in the Pasuk, Kimu V'Kiblu. Kimu L'Mayla. They enforced, they verified upstairs, Masha Kiblu Lamata, what they makabel themselves downstairs over here. So that's learned from a pasuk. That's how we know it. She'ela Shalom D'Chsiv. How do you know allowed to greet somebody with the name of Hashem? The name of Hashem is reserved. You daven, right? In the Beis HaMikdash, it's stamta in a conversation, in a mundane, random conversation about who's going to win tonight. The Clippers or the what you call it? You're going to say that. Yeah, you're going to say that. You're going to say, oh, Masart's going to open that conversation with She'ela Shalom B'Shem. Says the Gemara, D'Chsiv.
רק לדעת שיש משחק כדורסל לעשות תשובה.
I always say, we don't want to go to the Bezdin of Reb Shol, it's going to be harsh.
Shalom is the name of Hashem.
Shalom the name of Hashem. Yeah, we'll see in a moment. Very good. Yeah, right. And that was the takana. The takana was to use the name Shalom. That was the name of Hashem. It says when Boaz came to his workers in the field, they were harvesting the field, he said, Hashem imachem. Right, that was his greeting. He used Hashem's name. And it says also, Hashem imcha giber achayil. When the Malach came to Gideon, that's what it's talking about over there. It says, Hashem imcha gibor chayil. So he said also, Hashem imcha. He used Hashem's names. The Gemara asks, why do I need my va'omer? Why do I need 2 psukim to prove that? If you want to tell me Boaz did it on his own, but how do you know that Mishamayim, they're masking to Hashem va'omer, Hashem imcha gibor chayil, that Hashem, the Malach, yeah, he himself greeted Gideon in such a language with Hashem imcha. So you see that they're masking to Boaz. Says the Gemara, Avos Meiser. How do you know the din of Avos Meiser? What's the din of Avos Meiser? Rashi brings that Ezra Sofer made a knas for the Levium because they didn't come back to him from Bavel to Eretz Yisrael. They said that he should bring all the Meisers to Lishkas Beis Hashem, to the Beis HaMikdash. Instead of giving it to the Levium directly, not all the Levium were deserving of the Meisers. So he said, bring it to the Beis HaMikdash. And that, there was a baskel, there was approval from Shamayim. Evchanuni no bezois Amar Hashem tzvakos. Clearly it says in the pasuk, Evchanuni bezois Amar Hashem tzvakos. Hashem agreed. Im lo yaftachem asim shmai b'rikoistachem bracha ad beli dai. My ad beli dai. Amram barab. Ad sheyivlu sefseseichem miloymar dai. Yeah, you're going to have so much bracha in your life that your lips will become tired of saying die, which is a really interesting expression. You know why? Because the word die is actually not expressed with the lips. It's not pronounced with the lips. The lips only pronounce 4 letters. Beis, Vav, Mem, Pei. Right? 5 different places. The word die is pronounced with the tongue. Right? It says, At sheyivlu l'shaynechem. Your tongue, miloy medai. What's sifseisechem? Why are we mentioning the lips when you were talking about a word that doesn't use the lips?
I think there is a Bnei Yadav.
So the Baal Shem Tov says, they bring from the Baal Shem Tov says, Amor de Gezach. He says, you're going to be so busy using your tongue, saying die, 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 you're not going to use your lips so much. And by not using your lips, it's going to atrophy. Yivlu. It's not going to get tired. It's like bolsa, right? Like bolsa simulasecha. It didn't atrophy. So like when you don't use a muscle, right, it atrophies. So you're not going to use the lips because you're only going to use your tongue, and that's why it's going to be yivlu sefsesechem. Very interesting.
Trump said the same thing. He's like, you guys are going to be so tired of winning. It's enough winning. Stop winning.
That is, he said that?
Yeah.
Oh man, can we put that clip in? That would be amazing.
Gotta find it.
Trump said, oh, that would have been great to play it right now. He said this, you're going to be so tired of winning, you're going to say, stop, stop. Did he learn Tanakh? It could be. All right. Yeah. Yeah, okay. Could be his, one of his Jewish grandchildren came home from school, from Hebrew school, and they told him that. Omer Rebbe Lazar, b'shlosh makam sefir Recha Kodesh. 3 places, the Recha Kodesh was Nizgala, Bezdina Shel Shem, Bezdina Shel Shmuel Aramasi, Bezdina Shel Shlomo. When there was a suffix, there was a trial.
Got it.
So you have Bezdina Shel Shem, Bezdina Shel Shmuel, and Bezdina Shel Shlomo. There you had Ruach HaKodesh. Says the Gemara, Bezdina Shel Shem T'chsiv, Vayaker Yehuda v'yomer tzadka mimeni. Yehuda recognized the chosim. He recognized his ring and the mata. And he said, from Tamar, and he said, Tzadka, she's right. She's pregnant from me. I impregnated her. Meno Yoda. How did Yehuda know that it was from him? Maybe just like she went to him, she went to other men. So who says that she was expecting the child was Yehuda's? Maybe it was another man. Where it says, Yotzas Baskel v'Amro, that came from a Baskel. Mimeni. Yeah, Tzadka, the Mimeni came from a Baskel. The word Mimeni wasn't from Yehuda, it was from Shamayim. Mimeni yatsu kavushem. That I orchestrated all that transpired between Yehuda and Tamar so that David HaMelech will eventually come from Tamar.
It was from Baskel. How did everyone not hear it? How did only Yehuda hear it?
It's not everybody has a basket.
Okay. What is
I got
that?
the video. If you want it.
Yeah, let's play it 1 second, hold on.
You know, she used to wear a burqa.
She used to wear what?
Burqa. Because they didn't know how she looked like.
Ah, yeah, used to wear a burqa, right.
She wear like
Yeah, she covered herself, right. That's why, in her house, right. The Chazal say, right.
He didn't know how she looked like.
Right. Moed Gezach. Just a quick commercial break we have. Yeah?
Win so much, you may even get tired of winning, and you'll say, please, please, it's too much winning.
That's right, same with Sarah, yes.
We're going to win so much, you may even get tired of winning, and you'll say, please, please, it's too much winning. We can't take it anymore. We're going to win so
This
much,
is amazing.
you may even get tired of
That's amazing. Thank you, Nathan. That was great. Great addition. Okay. Bezdina Shel Shmuel, says the Gemara, another place, another time in history where Ruach HaKodesh appeared in Bezdin was in Bezdina Shel Shmuel, the Chsiv. When Shmuel appointed and anointed Shaul as the first king of Klal Yisrael, he said, Hinni behold, Ani bi neged Hashem and neged Mashiachai. Answer me in front of Hashem, in front of Mashiachai, as shar mi lakachti. Whose ox did I take? Did I take any money from you? Vayomer lo yulei shaktar lo yitzasanu. Vayomer eid Hashem ve'eid Mashiachai kibul. It tells me in the email. Can you see that Hashem is my aid and Shaul, who's the Mashiach Hashem, is my aid? Kibul. It tells me b'yad me'uma. Vayomer aid. And they responded aid. Now, problem is, Vayomer is b'lashon yachid. It's singular. If the people of Klal Yisrael responded, it should be Vayoimru miboyalei. It should be Vayoimru. So Yatza Baskel must be wasn't Klal Yisrael. Va'amra ani aid v'davar hazeh. They went at Shalom Aleichem. Ani aid v'davar hazeh. It was Hashem saying, I am an aid that Shmuel is innocent and his hands are clean. He never took a bribe from anybody. But Bezdina Shel Shloima D'chsiv says in a story, famous story with the two mothers, dead baby, the living baby, and each one said, theirs is the living baby. She is the mother. Why? Because she said, rather give away the child to the other mother. She had Rachmanas. How did Shlomo HaMelech know? How do you know for certain? Yeah, maybe maybe this lady that said, give it to the other lady, knew that Shlomo HaMelech would understand, would deduce from that, and say that she's the right mother. How do you know she wasn't manipulative? She wasn't manipulating Shlomo HaMelech and playing devil's advocate, counter psychology. That's what it is.
Let's cut the baby.
Yes, the other one said, "Let's cut baby out."
I know, like the real mother would never say, "Let's cut the baby now."
You're saying maybe.
Said that okay, the other one could have the baby, then it would make sense.
No, but the Gemara is saying Shlomo HaMelech said, give her the child because she is the one who said, give away the living baby.
And because the other one was the one who said, no, let's cut the baby in half. I'd rather cut the baby in half.
Yes, so maybe he knew from there that's not. Maybe it's
not just from it.
Maybe it's by process of elimination. Maybe it's because the other one can't be the mother. That's a good question.
Both together.
Yeah.
Right.
Both together.
Right, that's a good question, Shmuley. I don't know the answer to that. Maybe that would have been a good one, no?
Both together.
It's between the two of them.
So I put the one and one together.
Okay, so Gemara says, how do you know? Yatzis Baskel v'Amar Imai must be there was a Ruach HaKodesh. It was a Baskel that said He Imai. Now, by the way, there were many more times that there was a Baskel. The Gemara has tons of stories with Baskels all over the place, right? Right, in Laba Shemaimi, but we know there were Baskals. So why does the Gemara say only in 3 places in history do we have a Baskal that appeared? And that's how we paskin based on about, you're asking a different question, you're asking Laba Shemaimi, so how can we paskin on a Baskal? Right. So, the Ben Yehoyada over here,
It's in a few different places.
right, in Bamatzia, yeah. So I see over here, they bring on the bottom here, that Avada, there were other places. But
This is the only place they're paskening.
here you have Psukim backing you up. We learned there was a Baskal from Psukim. That's the uniqueness of these 3 cases. We learned there was a Baskal from a Pasuk. That's how we know. Nathan, what were you saying? What's the
I know because my old son is in Akiva.
Okay.
So the Gemara in Brachos, they wanted to know how to spell Akiva. Was it a Hey or an Aleph? So he saw it in a dream, how to spell the name, but he named his whole sefer after that.
He saw the Arzurua, yeah. Arzurua Latzadik, of Yusha Lev Simcha, the Sefer Tevis.
Is Akiva with a Hey.
Yeah.
So it's
Rebbe Akiva. Or the Reish is Reb. Zerua, the last letter is Ayin. Latzadik is Kuf. Yishrei is Yod. Yeah, Lev Simcha, yeah. Which one? Akiva is Yesh Koina. Why? Because he made that decision to turn his life around. Psst. We get the cameras over here. We need the cameras and everybody. This is unbelievable.
And mics.
It's incredible. And mics, everything. It's incredible. I don't know how to answer your kasha though, and I'm not sure. I have to look into it. So why in these 3 cases that we paskin based on the Baskal? That's the shaila. But it could be that the Baskal just reaffirmed what Bezdin was saying. So it's not like there was machloikis and the Baskol came to be machriya. There weren't two opinions and the Baskol had to decide between the machloikis. There was no machloikis there. They just reinforced what Shmuel was saying or what Shlomo HaMelech was saying. Can you move my car? Somebody move my car. Huh? Oh, you do it? Yeah. Oh, thank you. I'm sorry. Apologize. Okay. Says the Gemara weiter. Omar Rava.
Once again, if Bosco's coming out, why? If Bezdin agrees, why is the Bosco coming out?
If Bezdin agrees, why is the Baskol coming out? To remove all doubt. Sometimes, like Bezdin says something, and people still are doubtful. So, like, it just, backs them up. It's a good backup. Yeah, this question. Yeah. But there, you can't paskin based on a Baskol. No, image Baskol. Okay. Omar Rava, the Rava says, Mimai, Dilma Yehuda Kivin the Chashav Yarcha v'Yoyim v'Esram the Chazina mechaskinan, B'loi Chazina Loi mechaskinan. How do I know that the Baskol was the final clincher in their tainus? Maybe Yehuda himself was able to know. How did he know? He looked at the calendar. He calculated the date from when he was with Tamar. And then he saw which trimester she was in. And he realized it must have been me. Right? And the Chazina Mechaskinan. And Bezdin Ein L'dayan Ela L'Masha'ein of Royos. So he could paskin based on his own calculation. How do you know he needed the Baskol to reaffirm and reinforce his assumption? Shmuel Nami.
Derek Springer.
Let's pull up a clip. There you go. Shmuel Nami Kulu Yisrael Kariluhu B'Lashon Yechidi. What's the raya that by Shmuel there was a Baskol because it says Vayomer instead of Vayoimru? Sometimes Gantz Klal Yisrael is also B'Lashon Yachid. You don't see from that Shinoi Lashon that it's a Baskol. B'Lashon Yisrael Yisrael Noisha B'Hashem instead of Noishaim. Shloim Nami. Shlomo HaMelech also. How do you know that it was a Baskol that backed him up? Maybe he's able to assume like Shmuley said, because she didn't have Rachmanis, and the other mother had Rachmanis. Between the two, like the doctor said, he was able to deduce from there that she's the real mother. Elo Gemara. You can't use really the psukim to teach you that there was a Baskol. It's a Gemara. Rabbi Lozer was makabelet from his rabbis that in those three instances their taka was a Baskol. Okay, now we go to Dorish Rav Simlai with the two dots, 4 lines in the bottom. We go to the 613 mitzvahs. Dorish Rav Simlai, Sheish Meis Shloishes mitzvahs Namru L'Moshe. You have 613 mitzvahs that were given to Moshe Rabbeinu. Shloish Meis V'Shishim V'Chamesh Lavin Kamini Moisachama. B'Sayv Abba Mishmane Esek Keneged Avav Shaladam. 365 Lavin like the Moisachama, and 248 essays that are corresponding to the avarim of the person. Amr of Nuna Maikra, Torah Tzivalonu Moshe, Meirasha. Torah Begematria Shisma V'Chatzra Hava. It's 611. Anoichi L'Yelcha Mepi Agvura Shamanum. That's Mepi Agvura that we learned from Mepi Agvura. It's funny, I remember I was learning in Passaic, and we had, what was his name? From Bnei Barak. He was a Maggid. He was very short. Rav Galinsky. I was learning in yeshiva in Passaic. I was learning in the yeshiva in Passaic, and Rav Galinsky came to Passaic. It was before Rosh Hashanah, and he davened in the yeshiva. So a friend of mine suggested that we approach him and ask him for a musar shmuz. So you know what he told us? He says, "I'll give you a musar shmuz," and this is what he told us. He said that he was once walking on the street. First he said, I don't know if I want to give you a musar shmuz because I don't know how much you'll remember of what I say. And then he tells us that he was walking once in the streets in Yerushalayim, and a fellow came over. He looked like a secular Jew. He was walking a dog. And he yells to Rav Galinsky, he says, Rabbeinu, Rabbeinu. Looks at him, he says, oh my gosh, this was my old Talmud in yeshiva. And he says, I still remember the musar shmuz you gave us 25 years ago. And he's thinking to himself, if he remembers the Musar Shmuz he gave us, if he remembers the Musar Shmuz I gave him, why is he walking a dog looking like a secular Jew? He says, one shmuz you told us sticks out until today. I still remember it. You said that kahayom, nowadays, only 2 of the Aseres HaDibros are left. As well, like only 2 of the Aseres HaDibros is what people keep. Which 2? Anoichi and Lo Yeh Lecha. So he's like, if that's all you remember, that explains a lot. Anyway, bottom line, I wanted to show you when I was a Rebbe in 9th grade for a few years in MBY, every year I would do with my Talmidim in class, I would do a 613 mitzvah program. I would ask them, I would have them remember at least the first 100, depending how smart the class was, first 100 to 200 mitzvahs by heart. How would we do it? So we would remember it based on simonim, like we'd have simonim. We'd take the number, right? The number has a letter, every number has a letter, like 1 is Aleph, 2 is Beis, 3 is Gimel. So Aleph is Adam, Prurvu. Beis is Bris, 2, second mitzvah is Bris. 3 is Gimel, Gimel is Giranosha, right? So we would come up with simonim. The first 3 are easy. But then, like, it gets harder and harder. So I would encourage them to come up with their own simonim. And so I want to show you a couple of examples we did. We did a booklet afterwards, the end of the year. So Mashal Mitzvah Lamates, right? Mitzvah Lamates, we did a picture of Mount Rushmore for Mitzvah Lamates. 39th mitzvah in the Torah, Lamates. What is Lamates? Take a look at the next one. On the other side, it's Lincoln and Teddy. Lincoln and Teddy Roosevelt on Mount Rushmore. The mitzvah is a lav. You're not allowed to make shapes in the images of people. So like a guy came up with this genius chap, Lamates, Lincoln and Teddy Roosevelt, which are engraved on Mount Rushmore, and that's the simon. That's how we remember it. Here, take a look at another one. 43, the mitzvah 43, Mem Gimel. Mem Gimel, mitzvah is that if a guy has a Amma Ivriya, a mitzvah on him to marry the Amma Ivriya. So the simon was, Mem Gimel is marry girl. Gonna marry the Amma Ivriya. Here's another, I'll give you a few more, but I'll tell you one quick interesting ma'aseh. Mem Dalet, for example, the next mitzvah is, if you don't want to marry her, right, so you have to let her go and allow her or her father to redeem her. But you can't charge the full price you paid, you have to deduct.
Make discount.
Oh, very good. Okay, go ahead, take a look what it says. Must deduct, make make discount, right? A very good way to remember it. Here we have 84, pay Daled, right? 613 minutes, pay Daled. I remember pay Daled. Pay Daled is plowing delayed, Shemitas Karkois. Yeah? Planting delayed. I think we have another one, pay hay. Oh, 1 second. Pay hay, you can't open your stores on Shabbos, is that what it was?
Sorry, we're closed. Mitzvah pay hey. Let's see.
Shvisa b'Shabbos.
There you go.
Production halt. By the way, Pei Vav, don't show the answer yet. Pei Vav, we always had a very difficult job with Pei Vav. Nobody can come up with a good simon for Pei Vav. Pei Vav, the Isser is to swear in the name of Avodah Zarah. That's the mitzvah. The 86th mitzvah, entire mitzvahs. How do you remember Pei Vav? So finally, one kid raises his hand. I was like 1 year. Every year we had a hard time with it. And he gave the most incredible simon. Take a look. Pagan vows.
Wow.
Pagan vows. How awesome is that? Yeah? There was a kid from Arizona who came to MBY. He was dorming. And he went home. And he told his mother, like he had guests at his Shabbos table. He told his mother, we're learning with Rabbi Gold, the Talmudic mitzvahs. I know the first 150 mitzvahs by heart. We have this program. So there was a guest at the Shabbos table said, really? I got to test you. This is amazing. He says, what's mitzvah number 18? Mitzvah number 18 is Pidyon Haben. Yudches, Yekadesh Chadashim. It's in Hebrew. You have to be Mekadesh the newborns. He says, wow, tell me more about that mitzvah. He's a Batshuva apparently. And it turns out that he was a Bechar. He was a firstborn. He never had a Pidyon Haben. So like that conversation led to a Pidyon Haben after Shabbos. Wow. So anyway, so either way, there is 613 mitzvahs, a lot of mitzvahs to remember, a lot of mitzvahs to be Makayim. So David says, the Gemara, David said, Rashi explains, in the beginning, that they were able to fulfill all the mitzvahs. I'm reading Rashi. We're not such tzaddikim now. And if you're going to try to keep all 613, I don't know if you're going to be successful. By the way, today, how many mitzvahs are negayah today? Not all 613 are negayah, right? Chavetz Chaim has Sefer HaMitzvahs HaKatzer. How many mitzvahs today?
100 aren't at least, right? At least 100 aren't, yeah?
Is it 172 or 176?
Something.
Yeah, something like that. Right, because a lot of the karbonas and, mitzvah tluis ba'aretz, Kohanim, yeah. So either way, so David HaMelech boiled it down to 11, based on a kapitel in Tehillim d'chsiv Mizmor lo David Hashem yirga b'lechem mishkum ha'kachecha heilig tam fel tzedek v'davar emes b'vavel lo asel l'rogel l'shayner lo asel l'reiro v'cherpel l'nasal kroiv v'nivz b'ein nimaz yishem chabed neshva alav lo yomer v'chabed just reading that kapitel Tehillim. Gemara is now going to explain it. Heilig tamim, who is heilig tamim? Is Avram. It's Avram Avinu d'chsiv halech lefanai v'hayei tamim poyel tzedek. Who is the one who works with integrity? In Tainas, the Gemara says he wouldn't even respond shalom to people in the middle of work because he didn't want to take away from his employer's time. He always spoke the truth. A famous story in Rav Safra, Zichru and Baba Basra. I remember. Where is it in Baba Basra? Rav Safra story.
I don't know. Zach that.
We sing Shema and someone went up there.
Yeah. So and he kept the original price. Even the guy kept going up, but he already agreed in his heart to sell them for cheaper. Lerogal al-shayna is a Yaakov Avinu d'chsiv. Ulai yemusheni avi v'yisa be'enav kamsateya. Yeah, Yaakov Avinu didn't want to lie, right? And even when he lied, he came up with a creative way not to really lie in his words. He said, "Anoichi esav b'cherecha." Yeah, he said, "I am who I am," and esav b'cherecha. Le'asel re'yu rosh le'yor l'mschaverei. He didn't try to compete or take away parnasa from his friend. Okay, a lot of details on that. Somebody who is makarev and helps his relatives. I guess it's easier to help strangers. This is it's that's a big deal to help relatives. Nivza be'einav nimas. Zechizkiyo HaMelech shegir atz mesavev. We saw in Sanhedrin Mitash L'Chavolim that nivza, anyone who's nivza, who is Nivza be'einav, he's in his own eyes, the person is humiliated, nimas, the one who Hashem is repulsed by. So Achaz was Chizkiyo's father, he was the biggest Ovid of Edezara, and Chizkiyo humiliated him. V'sir Hashem yichabe, ze yishafet melech Yehuda sheb'shosh ha'iroi tamachacham em b'kisa machapke manashke v'koyer loi Rabbi, Mori, nishbal ha'rav ha'la yomer k'Rabbi Yochanan v'Rabbi Yochanan ha'ba tanis sh'av l'beisi kaspil nas manashach afilu b'ribis la'vi k'chavim even for Rabbi you don't give b'ribis v'shayach nakal l'lokach you're going to Shmuel b'Rabbi Yosi. Shmuel b'Rabbi Yosi wouldn't take even what he was entitled to take from his worker. The worker brought him fruits if he even if the fruits were entitled to him, because it was brought to him by someone who is going to be done in Torah, he didn't want to take it. Was crying when he said this. Only somebody does all these 11 mitzvahs perfectly. He's the one who's going to be protected. If he misses one, or if only he's Makayim one, then he's going to be Yimait, he's going to slip. It doesn't say to keep all of them. Even if you can grab one and make it your mitzvah, to be careful in that area, then you also have the bracha of if you're not going to say that, it's only if you're matam all the arayas, right? It says b'chol eila. It's only all the arayas. Elalav ba'achas mikol elu chanami ba'achas mikol elu. You know what I noticed? I noticed that from all the 11 mitzvahs that are mentioned, that David HaMelech mentions, I think you have 4 or 5 of them that are nogeya, that are relevant to a person's mouth. To be honest, right? V'doiver emes b'lvovoy, loyrogal al shoynoi. Yeah, nishba lahara v'lo yomir. Yeah, you watch your mouth, watch what you're saying. It's a big deal, and I think it accounts for most of the mitzvahs, of the 11 mitzvahs that David HaMelech mentions. It seems like there's a pattern. Watching, be careful with your words. One of my favorite stories, one of my favorite mises, is with the 8th grade Rebbe here in Orliau, Rabbi Yoel Gold, he told me that when he was a young boy in Monsey, he was very excited to go to the Siyam Hashas, first Siyam Hashas in Madison Square Garden. And his father, they bought tickets. They woke up early the morning of the Siyam Hashas. They were going to drive from Monsey to Manhattan, to Madison Square Garden. And they're about to leave the house. They're looking for the tickets, searching in every drawer, and they can't find it. So Rabbi Yoel said, I told my father, Mr. Arthur Jackness, his name is, he says, there's no use to go. You're like, what are you going to go to Madison Square Garden? They're not going to let you in without tickets. He says, no, we have to go anyway. He says, why? We don't have the tickets. He says, no, because I told last night, a neighbor called me, asked me if you can get a ride with us. And I told him, we're going to give him a ride. I gave him my word. So look, what do you mean? Just tell him to find somebody else. This is why he should scramble last second to find another ride. He relied on me. I told him, we're going to drive to Manhattan. They drove to the city from Monsey. The entire hour, Rabbi Yoel says, he's thinking to himself, my father is spending a few hours going from Monsey just because the doiver emes belvavoy loyrogal alashainai. You have a tokem as divurecha kitzadikato. You got to keep your word. And that was it.
Did they get in?
So I put out this story on a video once. I got hundreds of messages. People say, did they get in? Did they get in? Did they get in? And not only that, people wanted to know, was there a miracle at the end? Maybe the guard at the door recognized Mr. Jackness from 20 years ago. He was honest with him in a business deal. And now, as a reward, he can go in. Everybody had a whole narrative in their heads of what happened and how it turned out.
They didn't get in.
I said to everybody, you're missing the point. You understand what the miracle is? That 25 years later, his son, it made such a deep impression on his son that he still remembers it, and he's so careful with his words. Isn't that a great story? You need a miracle of Hashgacha Pratis at the end to make it a great story. The story is that Rabbi Yoel Gold remembers that 25 years ago that his father taught him. That's the Maisa, and that's what Rabbi Yoel says. 11, but 4 or 5 of them has to do with what? Keep your word.
Did they get in?
All right, very good. They drove home. They dropped him off. They drove home. I did ask him, didn't he ask for a ride back also? Okay, that's what we call. That's what Yosef Chaim.
Sorry. Did that happen on his own?
Yosef, yeah, that's very good. Okay, weiter. Zug die Gemara weiter. Ksiv oise eile lo yimet lo. Okay, yeah. Next, we have now Bo Yishayo v'amidan al sheish. So Yishayo came and said, you know, I guess as the doiris yardu, they went down, and we. Somebody said in Baba Metzia, what did we say? The Gemara says in Baba Metzia that nisma'atu halavavos. Nisma'atu halavavos. So we said focus on Mishnah, not on Gemara. So I remember my Rosh Yeshiva was once Medaik in that Gemara in the end of Elam Metzias. It doesn't say that we're not cave. It says nisma'atu halavavos. Lavavos means that like our desire, our passion for Yiddishkeit, for Torah, has gone down. Okay. Boy Yishayo min al shitchsev hoylech tzedok is dev meshar moyes bevetzem hashakes noyer kapam nechshechet oitemaz meshmay dom oitzvein vered brod. The Gemara is going to explain each one. Hoylech tzedok is Avram Avinu. Chsev ki yedate v'man eshe yitzave. Hashem says, I love Avram Avinu because he's going to tell his family, his descendants, lasa is tzedakah mishpat over there. It says v'doiv mesharim ze she'inu makne pnei chaver bram. Somebody doesn't embarrass somebody else in public. Moyes bevetzem hashakes. Going to Shmuel ben Elisha that he didn't want to be makabel matnas kahuna. He was a kohen gadol. He wouldn't take matnas kahuna from somebody who used to give it to a different kohen. He even was so careful in not overstepping his boundaries if it hurt somebody else. Noyar kapav mitmoich bashoichet Shmuel bar Rabbi Yosi that we said earlier that he wouldn't take from his own fruits that he was entitled to if the person who brought it to him was one of the balei dinan in his own Torah. That he never stayed silent when he heard a Talmud Chacham get embarrassed. Who is that? Rabbi Elazar Reb Shimon. A famous story of the Elazar Reb Shimon that they didn't want to bury him because he worked for the government as a detective So his wife had to keep him in the attic, and for many years she kept him in the attic, and one day she saw there was a worm that came out of his ear, and she got concerned that maybe his body started to rot. And so he came to her in a dream and said, no, it's only because I once heard somebody being mezalzel in the covenant of Talmud Chacham and I wasn't moicha. So they had a worm come out of my ear. So which means that he was always so careful in this mitzvah, that was the only time, and that's why he's the example. He's going to dwell in the great heights. Do proper judgment. Love to do kindness. And go be modest with what you do. Madach mitzvahs that are usually done before Hesia, right? A chasana, a levaya. And still the Torah says, be modest about it. Don't publicize your great mitzvahs that you're doing, even though usually those mitzvahs are done publicly. How careful you have to do, l'mashal, giving tzedakah to a person, keep that private between you and Hashem. He said, forget at least do chesed and be faithful in judgment. What does that mean? You have to be doirish Hashem in all the mitzvahs. That's not unique. It's not one mitzvah. The one mitzvah is shenemar the tzaddik be'emunosoi yichya. What a gewalt! If it could just end with one maisa on tzaddik be'emunosoi yichya. One of my favorite stories I heard from Reb Simon Jacobson this past Pesach. He told me that there are 3 Hasidim who were fighting with each other whose Rebbe is greater. One Chassid said, my Rebbe is the greatest. You know why? Because I lost a lot of money. I used to be very wealthy. I went through a financial crisis, went to my Rebbe, the Rebbe gave me a bracha, and Baruch Hashem, I'm twice as wealthy as I used to be now. Psh. So the second Chassid said, you think that's something? My Rebbe is even greater. Wow, really? What do you do? He says, I was diagnosed with a terminal illness. Doctors gave up hope. I went to my Rebbe gave me a bracha, and you know what? Look at my muscles, look how healthy and strong I am. I'm ka'achad adam. The third chassid said, my Rebbe is greater than both of your Rebbes. You know why? Because I had tough times financially, and I was diagnosed with a terminal illness. I went to my Rebbe. He gave me both brachas. None of them were makuyim. I am still sick, and I still don't have money, and yet my Rebbe is so great that I remain to be a chassid. That's how great my Rebbe is. Bo chavakuk ve'amidon alachas shenemar v'tzadik be'emunosi yichya. Avada, we hope, we pray for miracles. But when the miracles don't come the way we expect it, do you keep your amunah or not? Chavakuk said, tzadik be'emunosi yichya. Live with amunah, live with faith. He actually told me his name. It's a chassid of the Lubavitcher Rebbe. His name was Reb Shmuel Gerari. Yeah, so I give you his name. I don't know if he's alive today, but it's a famous story in Chabad. Omar Rabbi Yossi Bachanina, one last Gemara, and if it's okay, we'll finish the next Gemara after Ma'ariv. We'll do a siyum. We have
Kugel, Chol, and Poppers.
Okay, thanks to Yosef Chaim. Kugel, Chol, and Poppers after Ma'ariv. Wow. We'll make a siyum. Huh? And Reb Shaila, we have L'chaim in memory of Shaila. Omer Rabbi Yossi B'china Arba Gzeiris Goza Moshe Rabbeinu Al Yisrael Bar Bar Avim Abitla Moshe Amar V'Yishkan Yisrael Betach Abadad in Yaakov. He said that they're only going to be secure if that tzaddikim like Yaakov Avinu. Bo Omes Abitla and Omes came to Mat Gzeiris Shenemar Chadal No Miyokum Yaakov. No, they'll still survive Golas because who can be like Yaakov Avinu? Except Nichem Hashem Alzeh Hashem agreed with him. Moshe Omar Bagoy Meim L'Sagia Bo Yirmeh V'Omer Holech Lagia Yisrael. Moshe Rabbeinu said they'll never have menucha in Golas. Yirmiyah said no, let them have some menucha in Golas. Moshe Omar Poiktav and Avos Albonim Bo Yecheskel Bitla and Nefesh Achatasi Thomas. Moshe Rabbeinu said that Bonim will die because of the Averis, because the Averis of the father. So Yecheskel came as a vatla nefesh achoytzei Thomas, and Moshe Omar v'avaratem bagoyim bo novi Yeshayahu v'Omar. He says you'll be consumed, you'll be lost amongst the nations of the world. Moshe Rabbeinu said that. V'haya, and Yeshayahu said no. V'haya bayoy mahu yitaka b'shoifer godoy lavo oivdim beretz Ashur v'anidocha beretz Mitzrayim v'shtachvul Hashem b'arakot b'shalom. You'll come back. I'm scared of the pasuk Moshe Rabbeinu said that will be lost amongst the nations in Galus. Doesn't mean we'll be lost, like we'll be consumed, we'll be wiped out. It'd be like a aveda mezbakesh. It's just like we're lost, and there's always an owner always looking for his aveda. That's like Hashem. David HaMelech says, "Look for me like I'm a lost sheep." Elam Seifa. So why is Rav so scared of the pasuk? No, he's scared of achle eschem eretz avechem. The lashon of achle eschem eretz avechem, they'll consume you in the gullahs. That's what scared him. Maskal Varzutra, no. Dilma kachilas kishum v'delu, and it's like you eat a healthy vegetable. You don't finish the whole vegetable. Yeah, it's a part of it. Some yidden, yeah, maybe, but not all of us will survive. So we'll stop over here, and after Ma'ariv, we'll learn the last piece of Gemara, and we'll make the siyum. Just do it on do it on pause maybe.